Welcome to Mr. English Hub. If you're tuning in, chances are you're looking for efficiency. You want that deep dive. Yeah. The shortcut to being, well, properly informed about practical, everyday English conversation. And today, we're tackling maybe the most common, but actually sometimes quite tricky, bit of small talk, Monday mornings.
Exactly. That whole conversation about the weekend, we're going deep into the language, how you ask about it, how you answer back, and those specific phrases that make you sound genuinely natural. We've basically synthesized a huge amount of material, vocabulary lists, learning guides, even real conversation transcripts.
Yeah, our goal isn't to teach you every single word out there. It's to pull out the really useful stuff, the phrases about weekend activities that often trip people up. We want to get you beyond just saying, oh, it was good. You need richer, more specific ways to talk about what you actually did.
So let's dive straight into the mechanics. That first chat on Monday morning.
Okay, so the classic opener is obvious. How was your weekend? Fine. But if you want to sound a bit more like a native speaker, maybe more interested, you need those variations. What did our sources highlight?
Well, the really key follow-up is, what did you get up to at the weekend? Or even shorter, just get up to much.
Yeah.
That phrasal verb, get up to.
Hmm.
It's so important. It just means, what did you do? Maybe even hints at what fun or mischief did you have? It feels friendly.
Right, it sets a different tone. And that brings us to the sort of short response strategy, because you have to be tactical here, don't you? Sometimes you need something quick, high impact, low detail, maybe talking to a colleague you don't know that well, or your boss even.
Exactly. And the key there is the adjective, a single high-impact adjective. If you only have a moment, one word can do the job. So if it was positive, you can jump straight to things like wonderful, great, awesome, fantastic, maybe exciting, or even unforgettable.
Okay, and what if it was just fine? Nothing amazing, but okay.
That's your neutral to good zone. Things like not so bad, pretty good, quite good. Or just a simple nice or good. Keeps it polite, doesn't overshare. And yeah, look, if it really wasn't great, you can be honest, but keep it brief. Boring, dull, terrible, not so good, even awful.
But that underlying rule still applies, doesn't it? How much detail you give really depends on the relationship, who you're talking to.
Absolutely. How well you get on with them, as we say. You might tell your best mate every detail of a wild night out, but you're definitely not giving your supervisor the play-by-play of how you got wasted on Saturday. Formality matters.
Good point. Very good point. Okay, so we've got the short answer covered. Let's dig into the vocabulary for expanding on that. Starting with, let's say, the quieter side, describing a weekend spent staying in.
Right. If relaxation was the aim, you've got better options than just I stayed home. Like if it was a deliberate choice, you had a night in. If you needed extra sleep to recover, you slept in. Or maybe you just, lay in bed all morning with a coffee and a book.
I like that one. Lay in bed. Very evocative of doing absolutely nothing productive. And what about just generally taking it slow?
You could say, I just chilled out at home. That's very casual. Or perhaps, I took it easy. Both signal serious relaxation. But staying in isn't always about doing nothing, is it? You might have done chores. I cleaned up, or I tidied up my bedroom. Or, for our dedicated listeners perhaps, I spent the whole weekend studying.
Okay, let's flip that completely. Let's look at the going out socializing phrases. This area seems packed with phrasal verbs, which, let's be honest, are often a headache for learners.
They really are. So if you had a planned fun evening, you had a great night out, if you arranged to see people, you met up with friends. But, and this is important, if you haven't seen someone for ages and you needed to exchange news, find out what they've been doing, you caught up with them. See the difference. Met up with is just location. Caught up with is about the conversation, the news.
That's a really useful distinction. Okay, now for the maybe more lively side of things, the party scene. What did the sources say about that?
Well, we saw phrases like went clubbing or went bar hopping, going to several bars in one night. And if alcohol was involved, the standard phrase is, I got drunk, but informally. You'll hear loads of alternatives. Hammered, smashed, trashed, wasted.
Okay, hang on. Let's put a big flashing warning sign here. Those alternatives, hammered, smashed, they're super common informally, but...
But please, know your audience. Essential for chatting with friends? Yes. Absolutely. Keep them out of the Monday morning meeting with your boss or a client. They are strictly for people you get on with very, very well. Use your judgment.
Excellent advice. Crucial context. Okay, moving away from planned stuff, what about when you just accidentally see someone you know when you're out and about?
The classic phrasal verb combo. I bumped into, or I ran into an old friend from school. It really emphasizes the surprise, the unexpectedness of it, like you weren't planning to see them at all.
Fantastic. That's a great set of tools. But language needs context, right? So let's look at those real examples we found, Max and Mia. See how these phrases actually work in a story. We've got Max's weekend, kind of productive, but maybe a bit guilty. And then Mia's more social, relaxed.
Right, Max. His Saturday started pretty full on. He called it eventful, packed with activity, went for a jog, trying to stay in shape, and he had that good tip. Start new routines gradually, otherwise your body will rebel. We've all been there.
Oh yeah, the rebelling body. Definitely relatable. Pushing too hard on Monday morning, instantly regretting it. Max also tackled something he'd been avoiding.
Yes. He mentioned finally getting to a project he'd been putting off. Organizing the garage, which he called a disaster zone. Funny. And while he was doing that, he found old college photos and took a little trip down memory lane.
Ah, nice idiom. Trip down memory lane. It's not a real trip, is it? It's that feeling of looking back, nostalgia. That's really good vocabulary. Adds emotion.
Exactly, adds depth. But then his productive streak kind of backfired later. He planned to treat himself Thai food, binge watching a new show, but ended up staying up way too late.
Oops. Leading inevitably to the Sunday morning struggle. How did he describe feeling?
Woke up feeling groggy, sleepy, confused, and sluggish, lacking energy. He admitted he was dragging his feet all morning, but he rescued the day. Spontaneously called his brother to just hang out, spend casual time together, and they ended up having an impromptu picnic while hiking. Unplanned, spur of the moment.
Max's story is great for that productive weekend language. Now let's switch to Mia, the social butterfly. Her weekend sounds more about connection, flexibility.
Yeah, Mia started by actually doing what Max didn't. She slept in until 9:30, then brunch to catch up with her friend Sarah. There's that key phrase again for sharing news. She mentioned how time flies when you're having fun, which it does.
They went to a street market too, didn't they? And she used a great expression there.
She did. She said she's a sucker for handmade crafts. If you're a sucker for something, you just can't resist it. It's your weakness.
Which naturally led to some impulse buying stuff you hadn't planned to. But she justified it with that classic motto, you only live once. That's pure conversational gold.
But she balanced the fun with something else, right? A commitment.
Yeah, Sunday morning she was up bright and early to volunteer at an animal shelter. She described the work as really rewarding and even therapeutic, said her stress just melts away there.
Lovely. And she also helped out her cousin, Emma, who was apparently going through a rough patch. What was Mia's role there?
Mia said her job was just to let Emma vent. That's such a useful verb. To vent is just to let out all those strong feelings, frustrations by talking. Not necessarily looking for solutions, just needing to be heard.
So important sometimes.
Yeah.
And Mia finished her Sunday feeling like she was really in her element, doing something she loves, helping her cousin who is a photographer. And she mentioned learning to go with the flow more, being flexible, adaptable, not sticking to a rigid plan. That shows real resilience, I think.
Definitely. Both Max and Mia give us these rich narratives. But, okay, quick detour. We need to cover those linguistic traps, the common mistakes our sources flagged.
Right. Let's start with the preposition thing. Weekend.
Yes. The at versus on debate.
It's basically geography. British English tends to use at the weekend. American and Australian English generally use on the weekend. Both are correct. As a learner, just be aware of it. Maybe try to match the local usage where you are.
Good tip. Okay, next trap, pronouns. The I versus we confusion in groups. This catches people out all the time. Can you clarify?
Okay, let's imagine. You went to the cinema. Your friend Sarah was there. Your boyfriend came too. So 3 people. The clearest way to say it is, I went to the cinema with Sarah and my boyfriend. Simple. Where learners sometimes get mixed up is saying, we went to the cinema with my boyfriend. Grammatically, we often implies an existing group of maybe 2 or more, and then the boyfriend joined that group. It can sound like there were more people than intended. So if it's just you plus one other person, saying I went with, is usually much, much clearer. Avoids that potential confusion about numbers.
That is a perfect explanation. Super clear. And finally, the timing issue with this weekend.
Yeah, context is key. If it's Monday morning and you say this weekend, you almost always mean the one that's just finished. But if it's Thursday or Friday, this weekend normally means the upcoming one. You just have to figure it out from the conversation flow. Oh, and don't forget, long weekend or 3-day weekend when you get that lovely extra day off for a public holiday.
Right. We started by mentioning that huge vocabulary source, those 400-odd pages. But the real insight here, I think, is that you don't need all of it at once. You need the power tools, those key adjectives, the specific phrasal verbs we talked about. Understanding met up with versus caught up with, knowing about at versus on, that gives you control.
Exactly. You should now have the phrases, a feel for the rhythm, from those quick adjectives to the verbs that describe action. Enough to handle that Monday morning chat with confidence. This deep dive really aimed to give you that shortcut to sounding natural when talking about your time off.
You are definitely more prepared for Monday now.
But here's a final thought for you to chew on. We looked at Max, the sort of productive organizer, and Mia, the social butterfly. What about your weekend? What role does it play in your life strategy? Is it purely for rest, to let stress melt away? Are you a weekend warrior, packing in as much activity as possible? Or maybe it's your dedicated learning time, focused on long-term goals. You got the language now to describe any of those. But which strategy actually serves your life best right now? Something to think about.
Brilliant food for thought. Okay, get out there, practice those phrases, use them. And thank you so much for tuning into the deep dive.